I just would offer three principles that I think have been important in our response. And again, most people in this room have thought about this. Some of you have, I'm sure, been involved in responding to the challenge more directly than I. But one principle is that you need resources. There is just no substitute, as Ambassador Pinzon was just saying, as much of Vonda's work has reaffirmed, for having enough people at the local level to provide a presence, to provide intelligence, to provide reassurance. And this is not a problem. The problem of urban security is not one that you can skimp on. So I would submit to you adequate resources is essential. And the adequate resource problem is largely about human beings. Technology, robots are not going to go around the streets of New York in 20 years and be able to get the same kind of human intelligence and do the same kind of community policing that police officers are. Automation and computerization and robotics may help, but this is fundamentally a demanding problem for human resources, and therefore it's expensive. And that's just a principle that I would submit has to be kept in mind in general. A second big challenge, and we see it in responding to counterterrorism concerns here in the United States, but it's, I think, true in many other places as well, and Ambassador Pinzon again got at this same kind of challenge for his country, is the need to marry up high-level national assets and intelligence with essentially what the cop is learning on the beat and on the street. You have to actually be talking real-time, day-to-day, combining those different levels of information, because sometimes a threat will first be discernible from the national intelligence level and sometimes more from the cop on the beat. And you've got to have both communities learning from each other and sharing in real time, which means that this is not a theoretical point you just write about in a book like a Brookings scholar might. This is something that has to happen and work on the ground in a matter of minutes and hours, and you need to build relationships and mechanisms that make this happen. I think New York City has been the best at this in the United States. We've seen progress in the Washington, D.C. area. We have a ways to go still. And then finally, and to some extent in this same sort of spirit, but making it more about the bureaucratics and the institutional issues here, and getting this right, figuring out what mechanisms are going to do the linkages is very difficult, and we have struggled. I think we're better now than we used to be, but let me, at the risk of offending, I don't want to offend because I think everyone's made progress in this, but early on after 9/11, we had problems with the FBI and joint terrorism or counterterrorism task forces working with local law enforcement, and there was not always an ability to decide what information should be shared. Highly classified information from the federal level that should be shared at the local level. I think sometimes at the local level, people knew more than was appreciated at the national level. And there was a real difficulty to the point where New York City, which probably would have done it anyway and needed to do it anyway, but it needed to create its own counterterrorism units because they didn't want to rely on the JTTFs. And over time, this has improved. But what it underscores is that you don't just need a certain number of resources. You don't just need the concept of marrying high-level intelligence with information on the beat. You need people and organizations that have sorted out the rivalries, the personalities, the turf issues of how to do it well. And that's going to vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. My very